Taurus. Are you feeling it yet? That strange sense that something is shifting beneath the surface, like the ground you've been standing on is no longer as steady as it used to be? This isn't just your imagination. June is arriving with a surge of cosmic energy that's going to shake things up for you in ways you didn't expect, and honestly, may not be fully ready for. But here's the truth, whether you prepare now or avoid the signs, this shift is coming either way. And if you miss it, it could take months, or even years, to realign with your higher path. Because this isn't just about astrology. It's about soul growth, self-worth, and learning how to release what no longer serves you, even if it once felt safe. So if you're a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, this message is especially for you. We're going deep into the key transits shaping your reality this June, from love, to career, to the emotional breakthroughs the stars are pushing you toward. Sparkles, welcome to Zen Mind Peaceful Life, where astrology meets personal transformation. If you're ready to live in alignment with your soul, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss what the universe has in store for you. Let's dive into what's coming, and why this June might just change everything. Taurus, have you ever had one of those moments where life feels both eerily quiet, yet electric? Like something is building. You can't name it, you can't see it, but deep inside, your soul knows a shift is coming. That's the kind of energy June brings. Not just change for the sake of change, but a cosmic initiation that gently, or not so gently, nudges you out of your comfort zone and into something much more aligned with your truth. Let's talk about that tension you've probably been feeling lately. Taurus is a fixed earth sign, grounded, patient, methodical. You don't chase chaos, you build safety. You crave routines that soothe your nervous system and people who feel like home. But the universe doesn't care about comfort, it cares about growth. And in June, the stars are lining up in a way that forces your evolution, especially in the areas where you've been settling for too little for too long. The first clue? Your ruling planet, Venus, is stepping into an amplified dance with Mars and Uranus. And when your ruling planet is under that kind of pressure, it's like your inner compass is being remagnetized. You might find yourself suddenly questioning everything: your job, your relationship, your values, even your self-worth. It's not that things are falling apart randomly. It's that the universe is whispering. Do these things still match the person you're becoming? You may feel tempted to cling tighter, to hold on to that job you've outgrown because it pays the bills, or to stay in a relationship that feels safe but no longer lights you up. That's your old programming talking, the one that says comfort is more important than truth. But June invites a new kind of Taurus to emerge. One who trusts that change doesn't mean chaos. One who learns that real stability comes from alignment, not attachment. Imagine this: you've been working the same job for 6 years. The pay is okay. The schedule is predictable. But every morning, it gets a little harder to get out of bed. You used to love the quiet rhythm, the stability, the way it didn't ask too much of you. But now, it feels like it's asking you to shrink. And one day in June, your phone lights up with a message from someone you met at a networking event last year. They're building a new team. Something about creative direction. More freedom, better pay. But it's remote. And there's risk. You hesitate. Your chest tightens. Your comfort zone screams, it's not safe. But something deeper whispers, it's time. This is what June will feel like. Tiny moments of divine disruption, calling you to say yes to the life you secretly crave, even if your logical mind tries to talk you out of it. And here's the thing, you don't have to say yes right away. You just have to be willing to listen. There's also something beautiful and strange happening in your emotional life. As Venus dances through your chart, there's a softening. You may notice your relationships start to mirror your inner transformation. People from your past might resurface, not necessarily for reconciliation, but for reflection. What did they teach you? Where did you abandon your needs to keep the peace? What patterns are you finally ready to break? A Taurus woman I recently worked with shared something powerful. She'd been in a long-term relationship that looked perfect on paper, stable, affectionate, supportive. But for years, she felt emotionally muted, like she couldn't bring her full self into the relationship without disrupting the balance. When she saw her birth chart for June, it mirrored exactly what she was feeling, the push to express her real desires, not just the safe ones. She didn't walk away. Instead, she opened a raw conversation with her partner. It wasn't easy, but it woke them both up. They're now rebuilding something deeper, not just routine, but resonance. That's the kind of magic June holds for you, not destruction for drama's sake, but disruption in service of truth. If you're feeling like the people around you no longer quite fit, or that you're outgrowing the way you used to relate, trust that feeling. Taurus is learning a new kind of love this month. One that isn't based on safety, but on soul recognition. And sometimes, that requires space. Silence. Even solitude. Which brings me to your inner world, the space no one sees but you live in every day. This is where the real revolution begins. June is the perfect time to get radically honest with yourself about what you're carrying that doesn't belong to you anymore. Old stories. Scarcity beliefs. Shame that isn't yours. That weight you feel? It might not even be yours to hold. Sit with that for a moment. You've been told to be the rock, the reliable one, the grounded friend. But who do you lean on? June asks you to become that anchor for yourself, not through control, but through trust. One powerful practice this month is mirror work. Look into your own eyes every morning and ask, what do I need to feel more like myself today? Some mornings, it might be stillness. Others, it might be a brave conversation. Or even a bold decision. The point isn't perfection. The point is presence. Your intuition will be louder in June, but only if you quiet the noise long enough to hear it. Another tool that could shift everything for you? Voice journaling. Taurus energy is rooted in the physical, so writing might feel slow or stale. But when you speak your truth out loud, especially into a recorder or during a walk, something unlocks. Your throat chakra opens. Your feelings find form. And suddenly, your next step becomes obvious. This is what astrology is really for, not prediction, but permission. Permission to evolve. To change your mind. To grow beyond what you were told you had to be. And June gives you that in abundance, if you're willing to meet it with curiosity instead of fear. There's more. Of course. The skies don't stop moving, and neither do you. But I want you to let this sink in first, really sink in. Because everything I've shared so far? That's just the surface. The outer ripples of a much deeper current that's moving you towards something beautiful, but also raw, vulnerable, and real. And just when you think you've figured it out, there's a twist. That twist? It's coming later in the video, when we talk about the full moon in Capricorn and how it might force a reckoning with your long-term plans, whether they're really yours, or inherited expectations you've never questioned. So stay with me, Taurus. What's coming next might just be the most important part. Just when Taurus thinks they've caught their breath from the emotional and energetic undercurrents early in June, the skies deliver something else, a deep, philosophical confrontation with long-term direction. It's subtle at first. Like a soft background hum that grows louder the quieter life gets. And for an earth sign that thrives on stability, this isn't a welcome surprise, but it is a necessary one. The full moon in Capricorn arrives not as a loud thunderclap, but as a firm hand on your shoulder asking, is the life you're building really the life you want to live? There's no judgment in the question. Only clarity. Capricorn, like Taurus, values legacy. But while Taurus often focuses on the comfort of the now, Capricorn is looking 10, 20, even 50 years ahead. This lunation forces you to zoom out. to see the mountain you've been slowly climbing, and realize you may be scaling the wrong peak. In the days around this lunation, many Tauruses find themselves reevaluating their goals in the starkest light. Someone who has been working tirelessly in a corporate role might suddenly feel the futility of climbing a ladder that leads to a version of success they don't believe in anymore. There's a chilling moment of "I don't think I even want this." Not because the work is hard, but because the soul has shifted. It no longer fits the framework. This energy is even stronger for those with Taurus placements in the 9th or 10th house, areas of expansion, life purpose, and career. You might begin feeling an odd disconnect with what used to motivate you. And in that space of disconnect, self-doubt can creep in. But this isn't a crisis. It's a chance to rebuild a more authentic foundation. The kind of success that actually includes rest, joy, and meaning, not just external achievement. It's during this time that journaling becomes not just helpful, but essential. And not polite journaling, not lists of goals or bullet points. I'm talking messy, raw, what do I even want anymore, kind of writing. Asking real questions like, if I removed the pressure to prove myself, what would I still choose to do every day? If I weren't afraid of disappointing anyone, where would I go next? These questions begin to unearth the truth that's been buried beneath years of responsibility and fear. And once you name that truth, even just whisper it to yourself, everything begins to change. The next wave of June's energy pushes inward even deeper. If the full moon brought awareness to your outer world, now you're being drawn into your inner world, the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are, what you're worth, and what you're capable of. This is when Taurus begins to feel a slow emotional unraveling. Not in a dramatic way, but more like watching an old sweater gently pull apart at the seams. You begin noticing how often you shrink in conversations, how often you defer your needs for others' comfort, how you've confused being stable with being silent. It's here that the real self-work begins. A Taurus man I worked with once described it perfectly. I always thought I was calm and grounded. But now I see I was just emotionally numb. I didn't know how to speak up without fearing I'd lose love. June brings that same awareness to the surface. It's not enough to look stable. You need to feel whole. And that means tending to the quiet, buried parts of you that have been neglected for too long. During this stretch of the month, self-compassion becomes more healing than any external validation. Instead of demanding yourself to get it all right, try this. Each time self-doubt shows up, meet it with curiosity, not criticism. Oh hey, there you are again, you might say. What are you here to protect me from? This simple mental reframe turns your inner critic into a conversation partner instead of a judge. And what about the fear that change will bring chaos, the fear that if you let go, everything will fall apart? Here's where Uranus, the planet of disruption, really comes into play. Still moving through Taurus, it's been gently or sometimes not so gently dismantling everything that's been built on shaky ground in your life for the past few years. Relationships, routines, identities, if they weren't rooted in authenticity, they've probably been cracking under pressure. June is another spike in that process, especially around the middle of the month. Sudden insights arrive out of nowhere. You overhear something that makes your heart stop. A conversation shifts your entire perspective. Or a tiny moment becomes the catalyst for a life-altering decision. This isn't chaos. It's cosmic redirection. One Taurus woman recently described her turning point like this. She was walking through her neighborhood, passing by a cafe she used to dream of owning. That day, there was a sign in the window, for lease. She paused, her heart pounding. She'd thought about this for years but always dismissed it as unrealistic. That day, something clicked. She took a photo, sent it to a friend. 3 weeks later, she was negotiating the lease. She didn't quit her job overnight. She didn't throw her whole life into the fire. But she followed the spark. That's the key. June doesn't require you to have it all figured out, only that you stop ignoring the truth of what excites you. even if it scares you. For Taurus, whose nervous system is wired for predictability, this might sound terrifying. But that's exactly why it's powerful. When your body feels resistance, ask yourself, is this the fear of danger or the fear of expansion? Because they feel similar, but they are not the same. The former protects you. The latter limits you. This distinction is what allows Taurus to access their power this month. And that power is not loud or performative. It's quiet, grounded, determined. The strength to stay the course even when no one else understands why you're changing. The inner certainty that, yes, you're allowed to want more. That you're allowed to evolve. This evolution shows up most clearly in your communication style. As Mercury, the planet of thought and speech, moves through Gemini, a sign that challenges Taurus simplicity with complexity, you may find yourself overwhelmed by overthinking. But beneath that noise lies clarity. You just need space to find it. This is a great time to change how you engage with your own thoughts. Instead of reacting to every anxious spiral, get curious about it. Ask yourself, whose voice is this really? You'll be surprised how often your fears sound like your parents, or a former boss, or a memory of a rejection you never processed. And in your relationships, June teaches a lesson Taurus has long resisted, that vulnerability is not weakness. Saying what you need, even when it makes you feel exposed, is the bridge to true intimacy. That means asking for space, or asking for support, or saying, I don't know what I want right now, but I know I can't go back to who I was. This kind of honesty invites a deeper level of connection, not just with others, but with yourself. It allows love to show up in a form that actually nourishes you instead of draining you. It creates space for new relationships to enter, the kind that don't need you to be less to be loved. As the month begins to unfold, and this new version of you starts taking shape, you'll notice something strange and beautiful. The things that used to feel like huge decisions will start to feel like obvious next steps. Not because they're easy, but because your soul is finally in agreement with your mind. And just when you think it's all settling down, another twist reveals itself, a second wave of energy tied to your self-worth and financial growth. What you believe you're worth, what you allow yourself to receive, and what stories you've been living about lack or limitation. That's coming up in the final stretch of June, and it might just be the part that changes the game entirely. So stay close. Stay tuned. Because this next part? It's about rewriting your entire relationship with abundance, not just money, but joy, creativity, time, and peace. We'll uncover that in the next chapter of your journey. There's a moment toward the end of June where everything starts to make more sense. Not in a neatly wrapped, storybook kind of way, but more like when fog lifts just enough for you to see the next few steps of the trail. The tension between who you were and who you're becoming softens, and in that space, clarity arrives. It often shows up disguised as a question that lands in your chest like a weight. What are you still saying no to? Simply because you think you don't deserve it? This question isn't rhetorical. It's at the center of the energetic theme that begins to bloom now, Taurus and the relationship with abundance, not just financial, but emotional, creative, and spiritual. Too often, Taurus learns early on that safety comes from having enough, and so the instinct becomes to hold, protect, accumulate. But real abundance isn't about holding tightly. It's about trusting flow. In June, that flow takes shape in unexpected ways. You might receive a job offer, an opportunity, or even a compliment that makes you deeply uncomfortable. Not because it's bad, but because some part of you still believes you haven't earned it. And that's the belief this month wants you to confront. Where did you learn that it has to be hard to be worthy? Where did you pick up the idea that you must sacrifice yourself endlessly before receiving something good? A Taurus client once told me she grew up watching her mother work 2 jobs, never rest, never ask for help, and never complain. That became her blueprint for self-worth. If she wasn't exhausted, she wasn't doing enough. So when she finally started her own business and began making money more easily, she sabotaged it unconsciously. Raised her prices too high, delayed responding to new clients. Lost momentum. Not because she didn't believe in her skills, but because her nervous system didn't know how to receive ease. It felt foreign. Unsafe. June brings the medicine for this, receiving without guilt. That means saying yes to support. Letting good things come without proving you're worthy of them first. Practicing gratitude for what you have while also believing more is allowed. That's not greed. That's healing. And money isn't the only place this plays out. Taurus is also learning to expand creatively. Maybe you've been playing with the idea of starting something, a project, a brand, a course, even just a new way of expressing yourself. But the fear creeps in, who would care, or that's not practical. Here's the truth, your creativity isn't about being impressive. It's about being honest. If your soul is asking to make something, that is the permission. The desire itself is the invitation. One man I spoke with had been sketching on the side for years, never publicly. Just in private. During this June energy, he was pushed, by his own intuition, to start posting them online. Not for followers. Not for money. Just because something inside him said, "It's time." Within weeks, his art began gaining attention. But more importantly, he felt alive again. Not because people validated him, but because he stopped hiding from himself. This is the beauty of Taurus energy when it opens. It moves slowly, but when it trusts, it creates magic that lasts. And right now, the universe is nudging you to do just that, create not for applause, but from truth. As the month continues, there's a shift in how you approach decision-making. Earlier in the year, you may have felt foggy, hesitant, stuck in overthinking. But now, decisions feel sharper. It's like something inside you says, I can't afford to keep circling the same indecision. Not because time is running out, but because your energy is. There comes a point where indecision becomes a drain. And Taurus, who's known for taking their time, begins to feel the cost of staying stuck. June is the month where you learn that choosing something, even imperfectly, is often more powerful than waiting for the right moment. You'll notice the difference in your body first. When a decision is aligned, your body will feel relief, not resistance. You might feel fear, yes. But underneath that fear, there's breath. There's movement. That's your sign. That's how Taurus knows it's ready. This is where simple practices make a big difference. Each morning, ask yourself, what's one decision I've been avoiding? It doesn't have to be life-changing. It might be something small, sending that message, booking that appointment, starting that application. The goal isn't perfection. It's momentum. Taurus thrives in motion once it begins. The final stretch of June brings something rare and sacred, a reunion with your inner voice. After weeks of external change, emotional waves, and internal rewiring, there's a stillness that arrives, and in that stillness, you meet yourself again. Not the version of you that's been shaped by expectation or fear, but the one that remembers what it feels like to be whole. This is where spiritual practice becomes not optional, but essential. It's the place you return to when everything else is loud. Whether it's breathwork, meditation, journaling, or simply walking in silence, make space for it. Not because you're trying to fix yourself, but because that quiet space is where you hear the call of your soul. A Taurus rising woman shared something beautiful with me. She said she started ending her days by lighting a candle and asking herself, what did I learn about myself today? That was it. No pressure. Just reflection. After a few weeks, she noticed she stopped reacting to things the same way. She didn't need constant validation. She didn't chase closure. She simply stayed with herself. That's the power of inner peace, and June is your training ground for cultivating it. And just before we close, let's not forget, there are a few key cosmic dates this month that act like energetic portals. You don't need to be an astrologer to feel them. Around the new moon in Gemini, there's a spark of communication, curiosity, and fresh thinking. This is a great time to plant seeds, especially around writing, networking, sharing ideas, or learning something new. Then, near the summer solstice, energy peaks. It's a turning point. The light is strongest. This is the perfect moment to set an intention, not just in words, but through action. Light a candle. Speak your truth out loud. Take a bold step. The solstice is sacred. Use it. And finally, around the Capricorn full moon, take stock of what's working. What's grown? What needs pruning? Not from judgment, but from clarity. Think of it like gardening, some things bloomed, some didn't. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means it's time to prepare the soil for what's next. As this month ends, you won't be the same Taurus who entered it. You'll be a little more open. A little more free. You'll have shed a few layers, spoken a few deeper truths, and maybe even surprised yourself. That's the point. Astrology isn't here to predict your life, it's here to invite you back to it, with more awareness, more choice, and more self-trust. So take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Trust that the discomfort you felt was never punishment, it was the pressure that creates clarity. The shift that births wisdom. Taurus, your next chapter has already begun. The question is, will you meet it or resist it? You know the answer. And if you're still unsure, maybe that's a sign to come back for the next video. Because what's coming in July? Let's just say, this month was the warm-up. There's a sacred stillness that begins to emerge as the final days of June approach. Taurus, you've walked through emotional tides, navigated inner earthquakes, and opened doors that once terrified you. Now, the question becomes, how do you hold on to the clarity you've found, without falling back into old patterns? That's where spiritual self-care becomes non-negotiable. This part of the journey isn't about radical transformation anymore, it's about integration. The growth you've experienced this month wasn't just conceptual. It lived in your nervous system, in your breath, in the uncomfortable conversations you finally had, in the moment you stopped justifying someone's behavior to protect your peace. That's real healing. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. But integration isn't passive. It requires rituals that keep you rooted. For Taurus, spiritual practice doesn't have to look like incense and mantras, though it can. It can be as simple as putting your bare feet in the grass each morning, letting the earth remind you that you're not lost. It can be turning off your phone for an hour at sunset, sipping tea in silence, writing down what your heart is trying to say before the world gets too loud again. I once knew a Taurus woman who kept trying to meditate like everyone told her to, sitting still. Quiet mind, lotus position. It stressed her out. Until one day, she tried baking in silence instead. No phone, no music, just her hands and her breath in rhythm with the dough. And she cried, not because she was sad, but because she finally felt herself again. That was her meditation. And that's the invitation this month. Redefine what spirituality means for you. Let it be embodied. Let it be yours. This is especially important because as June closes out, the solstice portal you've passed through will begin to settle energetically, and whatever was stirred up needs somewhere to land. Give it that place. Build it with intention. Whether it's a physical corner in your home or a 10-minute daily practice, that container will become your anchor as July begins unfolding with its own waves of momentum. And speaking of momentum, let's talk about something Taurus doesn't always get credit for: your power to take action once your heart is aligned. There's a myth in astrology that Taurus is too slow, too stubborn, too stuck. But anyone who truly understands this sign knows, once Taurus decides something is right, there is no force more grounded, determined, or unstoppable. You don't act impulsively. You act with purpose. And that's exactly the kind of action June calls for. The key is, start small, but start from the soul. If you've felt a pull to create something, a business, a new routine, a new version of your life, don't let the pressure of perfection stop you. Begin with what you have. Begin where you are. You don't need the perfect plan. You need presence. Taurus energy is the sacred builder. Brick by brick. Breath by breath. I had a client, Taurus rising, who wanted to start a mindfulness blog but kept getting stuck on branding. Logos, colors, copy. She was spiraling. I asked her, what if you just wrote one post today, without worrying about whether anyone reads it? She did. The next day, she wrote another. Within a month, her writing had clarity and rhythm. Within 3, she launched her site, not from pressure, but from flow. And it resonated. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. So if your inner fire has been reignited this month, nurture it. Protect it from overthinking. Feed it small, intentional steps. Take action that feels like devotion, not punishment. The universe will meet you halfway. But you have to move. Now, we arrive at the final turning point of the month, and perhaps the most important, learning to trust your own voice. Especially when it contradicts what the world around you is saying. This is where Taurus gets tested the most. Because for all your calm and inner strength, you often struggle when your intuition clashes with logic or social expectation. But June ends with a bold invitation: stop outsourcing your knowing. That means tuning out the noise. The well-meaning opinions. The spiritual hype. Even the astrological predictions, yes, including this one. Because at the end of the day, you are the one living your life. You are the one waking up in your body. You are the one who knows what feels aligned, and what feels like a quiet betrayal of your soul. June's final gift is a deep reconnection with that inner authority. It may come through a dream. A strange coincidence. A sentence that sticks in your mind. Or a moment of silence where everything suddenly clicks. Trust it. That's your compass now. Don't rush to explain yourself. Don't dilute your truth so others can digest it easily. Speak from your root, not your ego. That's how Taurus moves from fixed to free. Not by letting go of your foundation, but by becoming the foundation you've always searched for. As we close this journey, take a deep breath. Feel the weight you've released. Feel the space you've created. Feel the quiet strength that was always there, now finally uncovered. Finally ready. June wasn't easy. But growth never is. And Taurus, you've done more than survive it. You've grown into a version of yourself that can no longer be silenced by fear. And that's powerful. So as you move forward, remember this. You are not here to live a life of quiet compromise. You are here to thrive in the fullness of your being. You are here to create. To connect. To ground others by simply being grounded in yourself. You are the calm in the storm, not because you avoid the storm, but because you've learned how to breathe inside it. And that is your superpower. Sparkles. If this video resonated with your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Help us grow this peaceful corner of the internet by clicking like, hitting subscribe, and sharing this video with someone you love, especially your fellow Taurus souls who might need this message today. And if you're new here, welcome to Zen Mind Peaceful Life. This is a space for astrology, healing, self-discovery, and real conversations with your inner self. We've got so much more to explore together. Leave a comment and tell me, what's one thing you're releasing this month, and one thing you're finally ready to receive? And don't forget, this was just the beginning. July is coming in with even more revelations, especially around love and alignment. So turn on the bell so you don't miss what the stars have in store next. Until then, stay grounded. Stay open. And most importantly, stay you.